Hey guys, didn't know I would be posting another video so soon, but hey, when God prompts you to do something, you need to do it. And interesting because uh, it's something that was in my mind a few days ago and just came back earlier, actually in the very first part of the day, and I felt this urge to share this with you. And and this time it's about our call to influence in this world, as believers, or as believers in Jesus, as his followers. We're called to be true influencers. Um, and um, and why do I say that? Because in my experience, in um, my history of hanging out with fellow believers, hearing them talk about their lives and all of that. Um, I don't know. It's a lot of them seem to be, I don't know, having a very, very low impression, or let's say a very low, yeah, a very low impression of their calling, of what this Christian life is about. And a lot of people are about thinking small, like, okay, if I'm a Christian, if I'm supposed to follow Jesus, well, because he was around like poor people, that means I need to live poorly. I need to have a very modest job. I need to be in my, just in my environment, even like marginalized, just go about, sharing the gospel to a couple of people here and there. But that's about it. Okay, maybe share to more people, but when it comes to areas of life, I need to live like in a humble manner, but having a wrong understanding of what God means to be humble. To be humble is to be dependent on God, saying, okay, well, in every area of my life, I will rely on His grace, that is His divine power, to do what He's asked me to do. That is to be humble. It's not to live poorly. Now, I'm saying this because, as a sister in Christ told me years ago, while I was still living in France, she said, some of us need to just tear off this tag on our foreheads, and I think a lot of Christians, and a lot of people who are considering becoming Christians, they probably have this idea, this how can I call that? How can I say this? A a preconceived idea that to be Christian is to be living poorly, to have a low perspective of life. Well, it may not be the case. And so, to kind of prove that to you, I have the example here. Actually, there's many examples. That's why I believe God prompted me to share this with you guys today, because it came back, and it was something that was powerful, and it's something that I have on my heart, that to be a Christian doesn't necessarily mean to have, a job that, okay, our society would consider like, as being very low. Okay, sorry. I mean, just to name just an example. Let's say a janitor. Okay, if you're a janitor, no, no offense or anything, but okay, it's just something that the society, common people would consider this as not being a very, very high value job, let's say. And 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 a lot of people, okay, this probably is an extreme, but just to give you an example, that maybe people would think that, okay, if they're called to be believers, they would have to leave their well-paid job to become janitor, because this is how we're supposed to live. Well, maybe not. Maybe it is, maybe not. But what I'm saying is, it's not necessarily what God is calling you to do. And probably, maybe, God is calling you to do, well, for sure, God is calling you to be an influencer, whatever this whatever he's calling you to do. And of course, when I mean influencer, is not necessarily having 50K followers on Instagram. Though I'm sure that, if you have a testimony to share, if you're, and you share it on social media, maybe, God is going to bring you a lot of followers. But what I'm saying is, whatever you're called to be doing, that then people will look at you and be influenced by you. And some of you, I'm sure some who will watch this video, guys, some of you are called to be high executives. Some of you are called to be professional athletes. I know at least a couple who can do that, who are on the path of doing this, and they're believers. Some of you are called to be in the political realm. Some of you are called to be, I don't know, like singers, or maybe in the entertainment industry, and doing and honoring God, by your acting skills, by your musical skills. Some may be, I don't know, in the medical, the law field. I mean, you got my message, in influential industries or areas of society. And going back to what I said earlier, so I wouldn't lose my train of thought, there are a few people, I mean, there's quite a lot of people actually in the Old Testament who have had this level of influence. Well, the first one is Abraham, the father of nations. Listen to that. That's what God told to Abraham in the Old Testament. In the book of Genesis, chapter 17, verses 2 through 6, he says, "Then I will make my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers." Abraham fell face down, and God said to him, "As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram, your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you." Interesting. I think that was a man of influence in his time. Let's go to another example. Joseph, whom I call the prime minister of Egypt. And back in the day, Egypt was the most powerful nation on the earth. This is what it was said of him. Actually, it was the Pharaoh after, and to bring it back to context, Joseph interpreted his dream, one of his dreams that his wisest men, even magicians, couldn't interpret, and he did it correctly. Why? Because he had a close relationship with God and had a revelation. See, when you have a close relationship with God, he gives you some insights that otherwise you wouldn't receive. And so this is what the Pharaoh said after he received the interpretation from Joseph. "You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a good chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, "Make way." Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will." Sorry, that's the wind. No one will lift hand or foot in all of Egypt. Then later on, I skip a verse. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. That was in Genesis chapter 41, verses 40 to 46. See, interesting, he was 30. When you think of the youngest leaders nowadays, Emmanuel Macron, Justin Trudeau, these guys, they're considered as very young leaders. And I'm not going to get into politics, and how they got there. But hey, look, Old Testament, by the favor of God, Joseph came into politics, and he did a good job at it with his role. At 30 years of age, to become the prime minister again of the richest nation, of the biggest nation on earth. at his time. David, the king of Israel. Um, 2 Samuel chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Don't worry, I'll just have another couple of passages to read real quickly. But just to illustrate that if it's in the Bible, that means, there's a verse in the Bible that says that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if he did that in the Old Testament, that means yesterday, he can do so, promote people to high ranks today. David. All the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and said, "We are your own flesh and blood. In the past, while Saul was king over us, you were the one who led Israel on their military campaigns. And the Lord said to you, 'You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will become their ruler.'" When all the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, the king made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king of Israel. David was how old? 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years. So that's in 2 Samuel chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. And when he became, by the way, the king of Israel, he had so much success that Israel was then the most powerful nation in the world. So he literally became the most powerful man in the world. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to. I don't want to get onto the other extreme that you would seek God or want to become a Christian just because of having a very successful career or being in the high ranks of society. Don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to get to you as a message here is God may have a high calling for you. The most important thing remains your relationship with Him. And out of that, He may bless you and lift you up to a position of influence, that is why if you have this passion, of becoming, of getting into politics, and you're a Christian or you're thinking of becoming Christian, you think, well, that might not be the truth. I don't know. You will find out by God, but it might be that God placed this desire in your heart. Your role is to know what is God calling you to do. And again, don't think that it's necessarily to live a poor life and to just be struggling day after day in terms of vital needs and stuff. Solomon, the son of David, I call him the greatest king of all. Why? Because in 1 Kings it says, moreover, that's what God said to him after he asked him what would be one thing he would desire to have now he is king. And Solomon didn't desire wealth, didn't desire power. He desired wisdom because he was young and he knew he needed wisdom to lead his people in the right way. And this is what he said. Moreover, I will give you... So God was pleased, at his reply. And so he said, okay, well, you desired a good thing. You know what? But on top of that, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. That's 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 13. In the following chapter, we learn that Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines, as far as the border of Egypt. So that's not a small region. These countries brought tribute and were Solomon's subjects all his life. Now, if you were to refer to today's political, let's say, context, a country we know has been having subjects for a while now are the United States. Well, it's as if now it would be like pretty much be the president of the United States. So again, a person of influence. And another thing that is said about him, it says that God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the earth and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. and his fame spread to all the surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. And lastly, from all nations, people came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. So that you can find this in 1 Kings chapter 4. Another man of influence. Why? Because he was close to God. He was pursuing God's will for his life, and he asked for wisdom, something that God honored. Lastly, as a big example, Daniel, who became the chief leader in Babylon, who then was also the biggest power in the world. It says two things about him. He was promoted to become the ruler over the entire province of Babylon. That's in Daniel chapter 2. And he also became the third highest ruler in the whole kingdom in Daniel chapter 5. That's because he was a great man after God's heart. He also was interpreting dreams like no one did in that kingdom, and that's why he was promoted by the both kings consecutively in the kingdom of Babylon. And there are other examples. Of course, I'm not going to go into that because I read enough scriptures to you. King Hezekiah, the Queen Esther, Mordecai, who I think was her uncle, Nehemiah, the prophet. Nehemiah, who was also like a governor, and Job, who was a very influential, wise, and important man at his time. So all that to say, guys, I hope I didn't get you sidetracked with all the scriptures that I read, but I just wanted to show evidence from the Bible, from the Holy Scriptures, that if you have a covenant with him, that is, if you have a relationship with him, there's the old covenant from the Old Testament, and the new covenant is under the blood of Jesus Christ. So if you have decided to make peace with God through his son Jesus Christ by accepting his sacrifice, and by turning from sinful ways, sinful manners, sinful habits, and decide to embrace this relationship with God, well, not only, as I said yesterday, you will be blessed, you will delight in your relationship with him as you commit to spending time with him, again, in prayer, in reading the Bible, in singing songs to him, expressing your thankfulness to him, but also he may have in store for you a very, very, very high calling, so I wanted to, as my sister again and the Lord said years ago, I just use this video to help remove this this tag off of your foreheads of misinterpreted humility, and who knows, again, just the most important thing is you guys pursue God, seek his will, and ask what is his calling for your life. And it may be that you may be called to influence, most likely to influence people, no matter what the area of your calling be. It doesn't mean not everyone is called to be a pastor or an evangelist, but it may be a whole other thing. But just be encouraged. I hope that you got something out of this video, and feel free to leave a comment, a feedback. Again, I'm new in this, so just bear with me, and we'll see what God has in store. What will be the next video he will want me to share. But be confident, and no matter what you're called to do, be confident that, as God said in Jeremiah chapter 29, he's got plans, great plans for you. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. I will conclude on this. Just make sure you read it. God has plans of hope, and of a future for you to prosper you and not to harm you, but to give you a life of hope, of joy. I'll leave you with that verse. I encourage you to read it, to meditate it, and of course to check again this video because I think it's worth the idea behind this. The message here is worth meditating. So, God bless you guys. Hope the quality of the sound was good, and wishing you a blessed weekend ahead. Take care, guys. Bye bye.